One.
Hello everyone. It's a great honour for me to...
Oh, can't turn your phone while live. Okay, how does this go? We're just working out a few technological problems here. We'll be with you in a minute. You've got Deb behind the camera and she's pretty new to this. She'll be able to do it.
Hang on. You hold this, let him start, let me figure that out.
Okay, this is our first time we're doing a live cooking class, so yeah, expect there's going to be a few technical glitches, so bear with us. We'll try our best. So we're very happy to be doing this service and showing you how to make Gulab Jamuns. So Gulab Jamuns are a very ancient sweet, originally coming from India, but okay, still getting sorted out.
Yeah.
But luckily our spiritual teacher, he spread it all around the world about 50 years ago, and many people have become addicted to the sweet, and we're going to be taking on our up and coming road trip with us. And it's cooked in ghee, which is clarified butter. So we're going to show you how to make that too, and that can be used for cooking many items. So we'll just get started and talk more as we go along. So I've already started here with boiling the butter. So I'm doing it here on a wood stove, so you may not have that, so it doesn't matter. Any kind of source of heat is fine, gas or electric. So I put quite a big amount of butter there. That's 4 blocks of butter. So you can do any amount you want, it's no problem at all. Ghee lasts for a long time, so it won't go bad. You don't have to keep it in the fridge. You can if you want, but you don't have to. It can just stay in room temperature. So by boiling the butter, then some water will come out. We can see some steam here. So there's water in the butter, so that's getting removed. And also it will separate out. We'll end up with some butter fat on the bottom, and a crusty layer will form on the top. And in between the top and bottom layer will be the ghee. So what we'll see as time goes on is that, like I said, this layer will form, and then it will become clear. You'll see in the gaps through the top layer, you'll see it'll slowly become clear. Now it's all cloudy, but when the ghee is ready, you'll be able to see right to the bottom, which we'll show you in a little while. It'll be clear right to the bottom. You'll see a brown layer on the bottom, and that's when you'll stop. So now I got it started because before the video began, because it's pretty simple. You just put the butter in any kind of saucepan. It doesn't have to be wide like this, but because, like I said, I've got a big amount, and obviously all the water in that will come out more quickly if it's wider. And don't have it completely filled to the top of whatever saucepan you have, otherwise it may boil over. And the temperature, don't have it too hot and not too low. Enough at least it should be bubbling away. It needs to be simmering, bubbling away, but you don't want it completely erupting. So sort of like a medium heat. And one thing that's very important, don't stir it. You never stir it or it upsets the whole process. So don't have it too high heat, otherwise it may burn more on the bottom. Although it will get a little bit crusty on the bottom, you can't avoid that. That's no problem, it won't affect the ghee. But yeah, don't do it too hot, otherwise the whole thing may become burnt. So we'll just leave that there, and we'll show you another process. So now we're going to talk about the Gulab Jamuns. So what I've done, I've mixed some water and sugar together because we're going to make a syrup. The Gulab Jamuns, the milk balls, are the gulab jamuns after they're fried, they're soaked in a syrup, which is water and sugar, in this case raw sugar. We don't use honey for cooking because honey, if you heat it up, becomes toxic, according to Ayurveda and a lot of other people also having that understanding. So we don't use honey for cooking at a high temperature. And for every 1 litre of water, use 2 cups of sugar. So I'm going to make quite a lot because we're going to take it on our trip. So I've got more than that quantity, but that's the ratio for every 1 litre of water, 2 cups of sugar. And that's all that's in there at the moment. So in the beginning, when you put the sugar, you just stir it a little bit so it doesn't get stuck on the bottom, because it can get stuck in the beginning. But once the sugar is melted, there's no need to stir it. So leave that there. We're trying to bring it to the boil. That's the plan there. Now the gulabs. Traditionally they're made from boiling milk down into a fudge kind of consistency. But this is a modern technique since the invention of milk powder to speed it up, because that process can take a couple hours to start off from milk and boil it down to a fudge. So now what's often done much more quickly with a similar taste, it's almost similar taste to the traditional method of boiling down the milk into a fudge. It's just using milk powder. So full cream milk powder. Two cups.
Can everyone hear clearly? Can you give us a thumbs up if you can hear Abhay clearly? Can you ask?
And if you have any questions, let us know. Any questions or comments? So 2 cups milk powder. Now what we've found is that just make up a batch of these different ingredients, which I'm going to tell you, just about the amount that you'll be able to fry at once. Because what I've found is that if you make up a big batch of this batter and it sits there for too long before you roll into balls, because that's what we're going to do, then it can start to crack. The balls will start to crack. So I'm only going to do a small batch at a time, and I'm going to do more than one batch, but we'll just show you one batch. So just 2 cups, and that's, I should be able to roll that whole amount into balls and fry that in one go. I'll just keep an eye every now and again on the ghee, which is nearly there.
It's starting to get clear.
So what you can see over time is like this. It's starting to get clear. It's become very golden underneath this white frothy stuff on top. A lot of bubbles there, but it's starting to get clearer. Not completely clear. It's going to get more clear. There's still some white lumps coming up from down below, but we're nearly there. Nearly there. Okay, so we're going to combine some different things. The 2 cups milk powder, and this is 1/4 cup semolina, which is coarsely ground wheat. Coarsely ground wheat. So that goes in there. And then 1/4 cup of whole wheat flour with some baking soda in it. So this is 1/4 cup of wheat flour. Now I put the baking soda in there because I'm going to create the effect of baking powder by mixing this baking soda with some lemon juice. So to create 1 teaspoon of baking powder, you mix 1/4 teaspoon baking soda and 1/2 teaspoon lemon juice, and that equals the same raising effect as 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Now the question is, well, why would you bother doing that? Why not just use baking powder? Well, most baking powder that you buy from the shop has aluminium in it. Now aluminium, according to a lot of research that's been done, is not good for the health. So if you want to avoid the aluminium, unless you can find in some special shop some baking powder that says aluminium free, and then that's fine. But it's quite hard to find in New Zealand aluminium free baking powder. And it's expensive to buy baking powder. It's a lot cheaper to get baking soda, and then if you have lemons growing in your tree, you can use that. And it has the same effect. So this is I want 1/4 cup of self-raising flour. So then every cup of self-raising flour has 1 teaspoon of baking powder. But I've only got 1/4 cup here, not 1 cup. So then I want less than that 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I want 1/4 of that. So you've got to divide that, like I said, for 1 teaspoon of baking powder, it's 1/4 of a teaspoon baking soda and 1/2 teaspoon lemon juice. So you've got to divide those amounts by 1/4. So it's not very much. Not very much. So we're putting that in there. So we've got the milk powder, then we put this semolina, coarsely ground wheat, and then this flour with a little bit of baking soda. And I'm going to put some cardamom. Cardamom is a seed that it can be ground up, and it's very nice combination with sweets, with many sweets. I'll show you how it looks before it's ground up. So that's it there, that's cardamom. Inside it's got black seeds. Inside it's got these black seeds. So even if you got this, you can just dry roast it for 5 minutes or so, and then put it in a spice grinder, coffee grinder, grind it to powder. Otherwise you can just buy the powder. Okay, it's done. Check out this ghee. And underneath there now, it's hard to see through the foam, but I can see it's very clear. I can see right to the bottom now. There's too many bubbles. But yeah, push it aside and then I can see that it's clear. Oh yeah, that's a bit better there. See, it's quite clear there underneath. Might just leave it another few minutes. No, it's done. Yeah, that's not done. I'll just take that in a couple of minutes. So yeah, I put some cardamom in here. It's goes well with especially any milk products. You can even put cardamom in your milk drinks. Whenever you have some drink with milk in it, hot milk or anything else. So I'm not going to mix this with the liquid yet, because like I said, once you mix the liquids in, which is the lemon juice, and then I've got milk as well. So once you mix it with the liquid, I need to roll this into balls as soon as possible and get it into the frying it. But we haven't got the ghee ready yet, so once the ghee is ready, which it is ready now, so we'll show you how to finish off. we'll just let that cool down for a minute. While that's happening, I'll just explain an alternative. Like some people, they try to avoid gluten. They can't take gluten. You can make gulab jamun just with milk powder and milk, that's it. Milk powder and milk. You could leave out the semolina and the wheat flour. So why did I put that in? Is because it's quite difficult to cook them without them cracking. So putting the flour in there helps them to keep their structure so they won't break up and crack. But if you do a proper job, a really good job, you can do it just with milk powder and milk, and then of course it's gluten free, completely gluten free. And also one lady was asking that can you make vegan ones? And I looked it up, and you can. And they use, instead of milk powder, they use ground up breadcrumbs, breadcrumbs mixed with some liquids and things like that. So there are recipes on the internet, you can get them, which are also vegan. So you can make them gluten free, you can make them vegan. But this is the normal method, which we're showing you today. And with like I said, with the flour there, the semolina, it just helps it to keep from cracking. So now at this stage what you need is a good sized container and a sieve or a colander, and then ideally muslin cloth. You could just pour it through here, but you might get little bits of the butterfat going through. So to try to avoid that, we just put a muslin cloth in there. Now we're just going to carefully pour it in. I mean, if you're not comfortable doing like this, I mean, you probably wouldn't have such a big pot as this with a big amount, but if you're not comfortable like that, you can just scoop it out. You can just scoop it out with a ladle and just put a little bit through at a time. But this is just, I've done it many times, so it should be okay. And just slowly pour it through. And the muslin cloth will just hold any of the big bits. So what's left on the bottom? That's the butterfat. I cooked a little bit too high heat, so it's got a little bit browner than what I would have liked, but it hasn't affected the ghee, and I can still use that. This you can smear it on your bread, your toast, anything like that. You can put it in your soups or your curries, but you need to use this within, say, 5 days or so, and keep it in the fridge. It doesn't last for too long, and that's why we're removing it, is because the butterfat is the part in the butter that burns. So anytime you're cooking at a high temperature, you don't want that butterfat in there. That's why you want the ghee. This part, now we've separated, that part you can heat it up to a high temperature, like today we'll be deep frying these milk balls, and a high temperature. We don't want it burning, so we've removed that part. And this you can, like I said, it doesn't need to be in the fridge. It lasts for a long time. You can bring it up to a high temperature. Just squeeze a little bit more ghee out of there. Okay, so for frying them, you need some kind of pot that's suitable for deep frying, and if you're cooking on electric or like this wood stove, it's all flat surface, so you need one that has a flat base. The wok has a flat base. If you've got gas, you might have one that's just a little bit curved. You can use that, but this is not going to work very well on electric or for the wood stove, but that's good for gas. This is the one we're going to do today.
Does overheating it affect the taste of the ghee? Anne was just asking.
If you seriously cooked it too long at too high temperature, and this got really black, it's not that bad today. I can tell this, actually you can't tell from where you are now, but we can tell here that the smell of it is a nice aroma, a pleasant aroma. It doesn't smell burnt, but yeah, it is potentially you could overcook it and burn it. And another thing that's important is try to get a pot that has a good thick base. Don't use one that's like a tin can, you know, just for boiling water. You want one with a nice thick base, and that's going to help to stop it from burning too much. So now I'll transfer it here. We'll take it to where we're going to cook. So now we've got on the heat, and we want to get it to be just a low heat. You want to heat it up. It's already hot because we've just made it. So in this case, it's already quite hot. So you don't want to heat it up too much. And now that's getting ready now. It's pretty much the temperature we want very soon. So we'll start mixing this together. So put our little bit of lemon juice in there. Why we have a little bit of baking powder in here is to just make the balls a little bit more fluffy. Otherwise they can be a little bit dense. So just to make it a little bit more fluffy. And then we're putting the milk. You can always don't put all the milk in the beginning, because you don't want to make them too wet. So we'll show you the consistency in a minute. So it can start off a little bit drier. And then you can just add a little bit more milk until you get the right consistency. They're just too, if you put too much liquid, then they become just too sticky and difficult to handle. If you did make a mistake and put too much liquid, it's not the end of the world. You can add more milk powder. That's okay, you can do that. But if you added a real lot more, then obviously you're changing your ratio with your wheat flour and your cardamom and those things. So that would get altered around a lot. So then just get some kind of flat plate or something. you could put a little bit of even ghee on your hand if it's sticky. This is not too sticky, so it's sort of okay. But just to show you, you can just put a little bit of ghee on your palms if it's too sticky. And the size, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can make small ones, you can make big ones. I'll just give you an idea. And they will expand, so they're going to become bigger than this. So that's like really small. And let's do another one. So you grab a lump of it, put it in between your palms, and then you roll it. You push quite hard in the beginning, and then gradually you reduce the pressure so it becomes circular. So you start off harder, and then you go lighter, and then it becomes like a ball. So that's sort of like a normal kind of size. That's going to end up quite big. So I've got a few different sizes there. It doesn't really matter. And then you just work out what size you like. So yeah, between the palms. And what you're looking for is just a smooth ball. You don't want to see cracks. If you see cracks, then maybe you need to roll a little bit more. But sometimes if the dough consistency is not exactly right, it doesn't matter how little or much you roll it, it's going to be cracking. But the main thing, like I mentioned, which I find helps, is if you just roll up the mix all into balls as soon as you make it, as quickly as possible. Get it all rolled up while it's fresh. That if it's sitting around, I find it cracks more. And with the temperature of the ghee, if you get the ghee too hot, then it'll cook on the outside really fast. And what that'll do is that it might still be a bit raw or not perfectly cooked inside. So yeah, you don't want the ghee too hot on your stove, so just keep an eye on that. Just move it aside or turn it off if you think it's getting too hot. We'll put one in the beginning, just will give us an indication about the temperature. And if the ghee is too low a heat, then the balls will just stay sitting on the bottom and they won't rise up. So how you know if the temperature is alright is you should see when we put it in that there's little bubbles. Little bubbles start to come off the edge of the ball and rise to the surface. So that's indicating that it's the right temperature. If it immediately becomes brown on the outside, then it's too hot. So don't throw the whole lot in at once. Just start with one, and when you're confident that it's the right temperature, then you put the rest in.
So Anne's been with us from the beginning. A few thumbs up from Anne and Tupara. Thank you. Gosanda says Hare Krishna. And Marshall Butler has just joined us with a good morning and a big smiley face.
Okay. Nearly there. Nearly finished the dough. So remember, when you grab your ball, squash it together a bit, you get it in between your palms. Start off quite hard pressure. I'm pushing quite hard now, it's flat. It's quite flat. But as you mix it nicely, then release the pressure till you're just gently rolling it, and then it becomes back into a ball. It goes from a flat back to a ball.
Hi Stephen, morning.
And the Gulab Jamuns are a real delicacy. So, I mean, it's not an everyday kind of thing you'd be eating, but for a special occasion, someone's birthday or some friends are coming over or whatever, and you want to have a really special treat for them, then it's perfect. So that's the last one. Push it hard, ease off the pressure. Okay, so now it's taking it over to where we're going to cook. Even what you can do is get a little piece and drop it in and see what happens. That immediately came up, which indicates maybe a little bit too hot. What's going to happen, I'll take it off the heat a bit. What's going to happen when we put all these cold balls in, it's going to drop the temperature. So if I get them in quite quickly, then the temperature will drop anyway, even if it's a little bit too hot. But when I put this in, the temperature's going to drop down. You can bring that close now and just watch. Yeah, so it's fizzing. It's fizzing around the side. So it's definitely hot enough. I could have a little bit more ghee in here so it goes over the top. But I know when I add all these balls in, it's going to lift up the height of the ghee. So ideally you'd want the ghee to be above the top of the ball, but that will happen very soon. Now I'm going to bring it back to the heat because I'm going to add all these cold balls in here. So don't drop it in from a great height, it's going to splash. Don't put your hand, obviously, in the hot ghee and burn yourself. So just gently drop it in. And see how they're fizzing. But it's not instantly going brown. You definitely don't want that. Just let it cool down if it's starting to turn brown too quick. And you put in a number of balls so that the surface gets filled up, because you don't want to waste your area. But not so they're all packed up, crowded together, because like I said, they're going to expand. So what should happen is that they'll fall to the bottom, because it's a heavy ball. They'll fall to the bottom and then they'll rise back up to the surface. Like I said, if they don't rise up to the surface, it means that your ghee is not hot enough. Like if you were doing your vegan, Gulab Jamuns, this might be like sunflower oil or some kind of oil. You don't want an oil that would have a strong flavour that's going to taint your sweets. So some oil that doesn't have a strong flavour, like sunflower oil I've seen used sometimes. But yeah, traditionally ghee is used for cooking the sweets, and oil is used for cooking savoury items. But yeah, that is an option. So yeah, it'll fall to the bottom, and that's why it's a little bit brown there, because that's the bit that was sitting on the bottom. That was sitting on the bottom, and that's why it's a little bit brown there, but that's no problem. And the whole ball is going to become brown anyway as this cooks. The whole ball is going to get brown. Now, sometimes what will happen is that they will themselves flip over without you doing anything. And if, look, that one just did it. It just flipped over. So that one just flipped over. So if that doesn't happen, obviously the half of the ball that's under the ghee, that's going to cook, and the top half isn't going to cook. So you don't want, obviously, just half of the ball cooked. So what you want to do is give it some time and to cook, and then every now and again you'll just flip it over gently with a spoon. Now, don't stab it, because if you stab it, this is a nice soft wood one, that's why I've chosen this. If you had like a metal spoon or something that was too sharp, and you attack it from the side, you might cut it, and then might even completely break open. All the ghee is going to go inside the ball, which you don't want that. So just be very gentle. If you have a soft wooden spoon like this with the round edges, use that. Or if you use a metal one, just do it from the side. That just flipped over by itself. You can use it from the side rather than the edge. But yeah, a wooden one like this is perfect for this kind of job. So every now and again like that, you can just move them around. So when they've just gone in there and they're just coming to the surface, don't use the spoon on them. Just let them harden up a bit. They're very soft in the beginning, so let them harden up a bit, and only then you start to turn them over.
Got a few more people joining us. Rope, Murray, Vanessa, Margaret.
Welcome, welcome. So usually, if the temperature is correct, normally it will take about 20 minutes. From when you put them in the ghee to when they're ready, it would normally be about 20 minutes, but it's going to depend on the temperature and everything, and how many balls you've got in there, and a few factors like that. But you'll tell when they're cooked usually by the colour. You'll go by the colour. It'll be a nice brown colour all the way around, and you can make sure that they're properly cooked by, when you think they're finished, put one in the sugar syrup, which is still, because I'm doing such a big amount of syrup, it's taking a long time. But normally you'll be doing less than this. I'm going to do a few batches. I'm going to put a few batches, so I've got so much in here. It's about 6 litres, so I'm going to do a few batches. But normally you'd have a lot less. Like if this amount that we've done, say it's about 20 balls, I think, let's see, how many do we get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we got about 20 balls out of that 2 cups that we started with, 2 cups of milk powder and a little bit of semolina and wheat flour. We've got about 20 balls out of there. But I'm going to make a few batches, so I've done a lot of syrup, but normally it'll be a lot less than this. So what we're going to do, when I think it's ready, I'm going to put 1 ball in the syrup. And I'm going to wait for a minute. And if it's not cooked in the middle, what's going to happen? It'll suck up. So you'll see like dimples in it. It won't be a ball anymore. It'll just like implode. It'll collapse. So that means it hasn't cooked enough. In that case, let all the rest of the balls stay longer in the ghee. It needs more time if the first one collapses. If after putting the first one in the syrup for a few minutes that it hasn't collapsed, if it hasn't collapsed in the first few minutes, then that's a good sign that they're all cooked. And then put the whole lot, then you can transfer the whole lot. Now an additional thing I'm going to put in the syrup is some saffron. So this is not absolutely essential, but it's also very nice with different kind of sweets and even some savoury dishes. So I'm going to put some saffron in the syrup. So when the syrup's warm, you can put the saffron in, and the flavour and the colour will go through there. But this is an optional extra, you don't have to put this. It's a bit expensive. I'm going to put some more. Don't tell my wife.
Listen.
Because I've got a lot of syrup there. There it is. And for all those self-sufficiency people out there, I actually had a friend, one of the hosts of where we're going to as we travel around New Zealand, one of our hosts is actually growing this on their property. They've got it comes from a bulb called a crocus, a particular kind of crocus, a bulb, and that's where saffron comes from. So she actually had just recently harvested her own saffron. That's a real opulence like that. So anyway, we'll get back to our Gulab Jamun. So I put the saffron there. You can see how they're getting darker, right? I'll move them over to a little bit lower. See, in the beginning I dropped all these cold balls in so it reduces the temperature, but after a while it's going to start heating up again. You see how one side is very dark, the other side's light, so we flip that over, so it's going to cook on that side. Sometimes they don't want to stay on that side. They have a mind of their own. Anyway, you just try.
Dani says it's pretty cool that she was growing her saffron.
Yeah, amazing. I didn't know that you could. I've known people try to grow it, but I didn't know people that actually got the saffron. But she got it. I saw the actual saffron threads on the plant, on the crocus. So that was well done. Some of them are, a couple of them are being a little bit rebellious. They don't want to flip over on the side we want them to. That's okay. So you try to get them all round sort of uniform colour, but if that doesn't turn out perfectly, it doesn't matter, as long as they get cooked enough. It's probably cooled down a bit now, so I'll move it back to a bit more heat. Just a few more minutes, I think it'll be done.
Sadrina just joined in and she said, would there be a recording?
I think it's automatically, when we push stop or whatever, save or stop, it's automatically going to be sitting on our Facebook page. That's my understanding from when I did a little experiment a little while ago. Yep, should be there. Just going to put this on a more powerful element. Get it boiling.
When you finish cooking, Anne's asking, after you finish cooking, do you then just strain this batch of ghee and use it only for more frying, or can you use it for other dishes like curries, etc.?
Yeah, good question. So you can use the ghee, definitely use it again, don't throw it away. You can use it, see the good thing about this, you're only heating at a low temperature. There's no smoke pouring out or anything like that. So you haven't really damaged the ghee at all. So yeah, definitely you can use it again. And these balls don't have any sugar in it, so you haven't made the ghee become sweet or something. It can still be used for savoury dishes. And all you would do is maybe pour it through a sieve or some kind of filter. So there might be a few little bits. There might be few little bits that have fallen off the balls. So you just put it through a strainer so you don't end up with bits, and then you just keep it in a sealed container. Keep the used ghee from making gulabs, keep it in a sealed container, and then whenever you want to use it for cooking your curries or anything at all, any sweet or savoury dishes, you can just use it again. So it's still as good as new. And that's the good thing with ghee over using oil, is that one of the good things is that that's good, they're staying where they are meant to be. I'll bring the syrup over now, and I think we're going to start transferring the syrup. So the syrup, you want to boil the syrup ideally for 5 minutes or so. We haven't done that perfectly, it's just starting to boil now. It doesn't really matter, but ideally let it bubble away for 5 minutes or so, and then just keep it warm. You don't have to keep the syrup boiling until the balls are ready. You don't have to do that. It can just be, you boiled it, say for 5 minutes, then you take it off the heat, just leave it there, and then when the balls are cooked, you put them straight into the hot syrup. So getting back to the benefits of ghee, that even though I've cooked with the ghee, I boiled it, it's not going to deteriorate and become toxic. It might lose some of its nutritional value the more you use it. You used it once and you used it twice, you used it 3 times. So it might lose some of the nutritional value, but it's not becoming toxic. But however, the oil is a different scenario. You've deep fried in it once or did whatever with it once, and then it starts to deteriorate immediately and it starts to become toxic. So if you keep reusing the same oil, then you're really compromising your health and putting something that's not good for you toxic in your body. It starts to deteriorate. But this, although it might, like I said, lose some of the nutrition, but it's not becoming poisonous or toxic like that. So there's definitely some benefits with using ghee. So now I think they're ready. So I'm going to take one. And you just take it out with a spoon with holes in it. Something with holes. Or even a regular spoon. If you didn't have a spoon with holes, you just bring it out to the side and like that, let it drain. Let it drain. Bring it out. Even if you don't have a spoon with holes in it, that doesn't really matter. You just pull it to the side, let it drain. Then carefully carry it over to your syrup. Plonk it in. Once again, don't drop it from a great height and splash syrup everywhere. And now within a few minutes, or 2 or 3 minutes, if it's not cooked inside, it'll collapse. And if it stays in a nice sphere like that, that means it's cooked. I'm sure it will be, so I'm just going to put them all in. But yeah, in the beginning, if you're not very sure, then just wait a couple minutes, see what happens to the first one before you put other ones in. And ideally, you let them soak in the syrup for a couple hours before serving them. Let them soak for a couple hours. You could even leave them at room temperature for whatever, 2 or 3 days, or keep them in the fridge. So mostly you keep them in the fridge. If you made a big batch and you want them to last for a while. If you're going to use them all up, within a day or 2 or 3, then no need even for you to put them in the fridge. But if you're going to keep them over a longer period, put them in a sealed container in the fridge. And you can serve them like cold out of the fridge, but actually, in my personal opinion, is they taste better when they're warm. So coming from the fridge, getting it back to warm, you just take whatever amount you're going to serve. I'm going to take that off the heat now. Take what, say you want, you want to serve 4 for dinner or whatever. Take 4 out of the fridge. Take a little bit of syrup. Put your 4 balls with a little bit of syrup in the pot, and then just heat it up. Just let them warm up and serve them warm, and they're really delicious, especially when you serve them warm. But even you can serve them cold, but they're nice. They're nice warm. And that's it. Now you've got Gulab Jamuns, and I've showed you how to make ghee, how to make gulabs. So thank you very much. Anyone has any questions or any comments?
Sadrina does say that they're looking forward to hosting you in Wanganui.
Oh, that's
really
wonderful.
Excited.
Looking forward to coming, Sadrina.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's all good. Thank you for joining us. I hope that was useful. And it's a great treat, Gulab Jamuns. And ghee is so good for the health, according to Ayurveda. Actually, our spiritual teacher said ghee is meant for inside the body, and oil for outside the body, meaning for massage. Oil is really good for massage, which is also very, very valuable for the health. Massage, you can massage with different oils. Mustard oil, sesame oil, coconut oil, different kind of, even olive oil, different kind of oils, good for massage. You wouldn't use ghee for massage, but you use oil for massage. But according to Ayurveda, ghee is very good internally. It like lubricates all the organs and everything like that. The body needs fat for helping the organs to function properly. So the ghee is very good according to Ayurveda for that. Of course, you're having fat in your diet, then you should be exercising and moving your body around. And then that fat can be utilised because you're burning up energy. The problem with a lot of modern day lifestyles is that people are not very active. So if you eat food with fat in it, and like here with sugar and sweet things, if you eat fatty foods and sweet foods and you're not active, then it accumulates and you're not digesting it properly. But the main thing is not to avoid fat, and not that we should avoid sugar, but the main thing is that we should be active. So that's what we'd like to emphasize. You can still enjoy eating nice, rich, opulent foods like this with some fat, with some sugar. You can enjoy that, and we should enjoy eating. I mean, how are you going to live if you don't eat any fat, and you don't have any sugar, and you don't enjoy eating, and you're going to be so miserable. And still you're going to have a problem with your health, even if you avoid fat and sugar, because, your body's not active. So the main point we'd like to emphasize is that the body needs to be active. So every day walk, go on a good, brisk walk, and, do some swimming, do some gardening, use your arms and your legs and get sweat. Should be, producing some sweat and be active like that. And then you can, side by side, you can keep enjoying eating food that has ghee and fat and some sweets every now and again. Of course, you may not eat sweets, every day, but at least once a week, on the weekend, some special gathering with your family or whatever. Have some nice sweets. There's no harm as long as you're active. Maybe not every day, so like that in moderation. Thank you very much.
Just one more question,
Yes.
and Kate is saying that she loves your oven. What make is it?
It's called Wagner. It's got the label on the front. Fairburn. Wagner. It's actually made here in Kaitaia. Locally made. So locally made here in Kaitaia. Wagner stoves. Yeah, so it has an oven for baking, and this is where you put the wood in here. Ashtray underneath. And this is very hot here. That's the maximum heat is here. That's medium heat here, and that's low heat over there. And that's it.
Thank you.